everybody, Sean from Movie Assault here, and it's time for episode 9 of the Halloween 15 for 2024. This time out, I wanted to talk about The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which is this movie. This is a 2-pack double feature from Kino Lorber that also includes Dr. Phibes Rises Again, which I have not watched, but I'm definitely going to be watching it after watching The Abominable Dr. Phibes. Vincent Price is a name that if you know anything about classic horror, he is synonymous with it. He is one of the absolute best in the business when it comes to classic horror. But if you had to pick one movie, and he's got a ton, if you had to pick one movie that would basically showcase his skill set, I think The Abominable Dr. Phibes would have to be up there as one that you could pick as an example. The movie takes place in roughly the 1920s, maybe the 1930s, it never really says. And Dr. Phibes, Dr. Anton Phibes, is played by Vincent Price. And he is avenging or taking revenge for the death of his beloved wife. She died on the surgeon's table 5 years ago. And he's going around and murdering all of the doctors and nurses that he thinks are responsible for her death. And he's doing so in rather creative ways. And that really forms the crux of the film. When Scotland Yard gets wind of the fact that all of these medical professionals around London are dying by really bizarre means, they put Inspector Trout, who's played by Peter Jeffries, on the case. And he starts looking for connections between all of the murdered parties, and he finds one. He immediately discards Dr. Anton Phibes as a suspect because Dr. Phibes is dead. Or is he? I won't say too much else about the plot. It's a pretty standard revenge picture, sort of along the lines of Phantom of the Opera a little bit. But one thing that I will say is that it's an absolute feast for the eyes and the ears. This is really a showcase for Vincent Price. As I said before, this is a film that showcases his skill set more than any other, I think. But I haven't seen all of his movies, but this would be the one that I would pick if I was going to show somebody, hey, this is why you need to pay attention to Vincent Price. He has a sense of flamboyance, menace, and real pathos in this film, and he's able to combine those characteristics. And even though the film is kind of campy, it doesn't come off as overly silly. There's a lot of anachronisms in the film. It's supposed to take place, like I said, in the 20s, but there are songs in the film that weren't written until the 40s. There's styles in the film that didn't take, or that weren't invented or in fashion until the 30s. But it doesn't really matter because it's sort of a jumble of visual styles. One thing I noticed visually is that this film really looks like an episode of the 1966 Batman TV show. Just the way it's lit and the set design, it really looks like it was lit for a television show, at least the interior scenes. But this sort of amalgamation of all of these different visual styles and the campness of it, and it's also got a sort of dark British comedic feel to it. It also feels like an early 70s, late 60s British horror film in terms of the way the violence is portrayed and the way that the villain is portrayed. It's really a unique combination of styles and visual aspects, and it just really comes together. The thing that I want to point out about Vincent Price's performance is, most notably, is that he does not speak on camera. An accident has taken away Anton Phibes' ability to speak, and he's been severely burned. And when he appears as Dr. Phibes that looks like Vincent Price, he's actually wearing, in the film, supposedly a great deal of makeup. And the makeup to make Vincent Price look like he's wearing makeup is brilliant. But the fact that they get him to speak is really interesting because he has to plug a microphone into a socket that's on the side of his neck. He also eats and drinks via something on this side of his neck that they conveniently don't show. But when he plugs this microphone into this side of his neck, and it's either wired through an amplifier or what looks like an old Victrola record player. He can be heard, but his lips don't move. But yet, Vincent Price, the actor, has to go through all the gesticulation of speaking and being emotional while he's conveying whatever it is he's trying to say, or what he is actually saying, with nothing coming out of his lips. So you'll see his Adam's apple sort of moving. So he's moving his Adam's apple and he's gesticulating, but he's not moving his lips. It's really interesting, and it's kind of a unique performance. And again, it looks kind of goofy, but it doesn't come off as silly. And I think that's a testament to how good of an actor that Vincent Price really is. So it's a monumental performance from him. The supporting cast is excellent. You've got Joseph Cotton, Terry Thomas, Peter Jeffries, who I did mention, and Virginia North plays Dr. Phibes' sort of silent female assistant who sort of aids him in some of the murders that occur. All in all, I can't say enough good things about the Abominable Dr. Phibes. You do have to suspend your disbelief quite a bit, but if you allow yourself to do that, there's a lot of grisly fun to be had with this movie. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why I took this long to watch it, but I'm glad that I finally did, and I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the Abominable Dr. Phibes, and I'm really looking forward to watching Dr. Phibes Rises Again, which I've heard may not be exactly as good, but is pretty good, according to what I've heard. Here's the back if you're interested. But yeah, the Abominable Dr. Phibes so far has been, well, by far the best of the Halloween 15 movies of 2024. And we'll see you when I do episode 10 in 48 hours. I don't know what I'm going to be watching, so we'll surprise each other when we see each other again in 2 days. As always, thanks for watching. Take it easy and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Take care.